When we think about Web3 games, there are basically two things that are different from Web2 games. And these two things are around ownership of goods, and they're around the ability to actually make money in the game. These are the two big elements that we're seeing. And so when we think about ownership, basically, games have virtual goods for years now. So when I play Counter-Strike, I have a knife. The knife costs a few $100, or it could cost a few $1,000. Then I can trade it, and I can basically sell it and do whatever I want with it, and it's mine. Only it's not really 100% mine, because the ownership of my good is basically stored on the Steam servers, which means that if tomorrow Steam would like to stop me from trading it, they could theoretically do that. It also means that because my goods are locked in Steam for one game, Counter-Strike in this particular case, if I wanted to take my goods, my knife, and play with it in another game, it's just not possible. Now, I paid good money for this knife. There's really no reason why I shouldn't be able to take it to another game or do with it whatever I want. And so basically the first thing that we're seeing, which is a great evolution of ownership of virtual goods, it's not a revolution because this is not about the arbitrage buying and selling of stuff that some NFTs are about. This is about really ownership of my game item. And so instead of my virtual good being locked into one game and onto a system, a platform that's allowing this, we can now be in a world where the virtual goods are connected to a blockchain. What it means is that now the ownership of this virtual good is not registered in a central server. It's registered on the blockchain. And so it's mine, and my ability to transfer it from me to somebody else is not limited by anybody else. I can go to any exchange that supports this blockchain and basically sell my goods at whatever price I want. What it also means is that the characteristics of my goods are also stored in this blockchain. And so if another game now wants to adopt this virtual good and allow me now to play not just on game one, but also on multiple other games, all they need to do, the other game, is to read from the blockchain what's the characteristics of my virtual good, and they can decide to allow me to actually use it in their game. And so for the game developer, this is actually very simple. All they need to do is to start adopting other people's virtual goods or NFTs, because the way it's represented is a non-fungible token. For the user, this is a huge evolution because now the virtual good truly is owned by the user. It's truly the user's decision to buy it or sell it or do with it whatever they want, or maybe later on rent it, as some of NFT platforms allow. And more so, hopefully these virtual goods will be available later on to play on many other games. And so we're moving from a place of a totally walled garden, which was not for the players, because somebody could stop me from selling it, somebody could tell me what to do with it, and the game could block me from using my virtual good in another game. We're moving to this new world, which is phenomenal for the players, where the virtual good is actually mine, the ownership is publicly registered and not on some server that somebody can stop, and other games could decide to adopt the same goods so that I can use it also in other games. A great evolution for item ownership inside games. That is the first big change that Web3 gaming is bringing in. The second big change is basically an evolution of what we've seen already in esports. So esports, basically, some of esports allows people, one of our company, for example, called Papaya, allows people to actually play the games they like and actually make money out of it. And this has a legal framework of how you do it, of course. But think for a second about general games. So in a general game, there would be various currencies. There could be one currency that is gold, and there could be another one which is diamonds, and there could be one which is called XP, experience points, and so on and so on. Some games could have 4 or 5 different currencies. The more complicated the game, the more currencies you can have in it. And as you play the game, and as you play the game better and better, you end up, through your success, basically getting more gold and diamonds and XP and so on. And for years now, in some of the games, they were black markets where people actually bought the game gold somewhere else, on eBay, on other platforms, where there would be players many times in countries that are poorer, where young kids would sit down and play the games for hours, grind through the game, and win gold or diamonds or whatever the currency is, and then go on platforms and actually sell these to kids on the other side of the world that could pay. And so we've already seen how these in-game currencies could actually impact income in real life. What Web3 does, Web3 gaming basically allows you to skip that stage and say the following thing. If my main currency in the game is going to be a token, and this token, again, instead of the gold being on the servers of the game, so basically locked there, meaning that the game could decide to take it away from me. The game could decide that it's impossible to sell it. The game could decide that right now it's shut down, right? Instead of this, in Web3 games, this gold is now a token. And as it's a token, again, instead of being on one specific server of the game company, this is now on the blockchain. And as it's on the blockchain, the first thing that happens is that nobody can take it away from me. Nobody can tell me what to do with it. Nobody can basically prohibit me from selling my hard-earned currency. And then, of course, the next step is that if other games want to allow me to use my gold in another game, that is now possible because all they need to do is to read what's written in the blockchain, know the ownership, and decide how they're implementing this in that game. Again, this is an evolution for the game developers, but it's a much larger one for the players who are now suddenly, again, not locked into not being able to do anything with their virtual currency inside the game. They can sell and do with it whatever they want. If they're really good in the game and they earn a lot of it, they can actually make money out of it. And if other game developers are supporting the same token, they can actually decide to shift their achievements from this game, the gold that they earned, into another game and get a head start in the other game. Both of these things essentially are not revolution. We're not talking about playing the game just to make money. If you want to play the game just to make money and you think that the money just comes out of thin air, eventually that's not the case. Not everybody's going to make money. We're also not talking about NFTs as a way to make money through arbitrage. I'm going to buy this and then later on, hopefully it's going to be worth a lot more. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But we're talking about a fundamental evolution in the ownership of your game achievements, your virtual goods, and the tokens, the money that you're making in the game, that is going to make games dramatically better for the users. And this is what this is all about. When we think about Web3 gaming, we don't think about ways for the game company to make more money. We don't think about the way to make game companies more profitable, the other way around. What we think about ways to make games more engaging. We think about ways to make games more favorable for the players. We think about ways to make games something that touches real life more because you can take your hard-earned currency out and maybe make a living out of it. And so these are all phenomena that have been around for years now. These are all things that we've seen before inside normal games, Web2 games. And now with the emergence of Web3 gaming, it's basically happening much faster, much better. And the best games are implementing these tactics to make the games much better for the users. The way we think about it, this is not a separate industry. We don't think about Web2 games and then Web3 games that are all about the token or an NFT. That's not the case. We think about exciting, fun, amazing games with great production value that users like playing, that become even more engaging, that enhance even more the customer loyalty, and impact users' life and fun even more because they're implementing these Web3 elements inside the game. In the future, we believe that there's not going to be any good game out there that's not going to have these elements embedded in them, because why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to make your game even better, even more fun, even more rewarding to your players? And this is the secret of Web3 gaming. It's not about a revolution or something different. It's about an evolution where the best games out there are going to just become much, much better using Web3 elements.